Alright guys, and welcome back to Grindwood Woodworking. We are making this cherry entryway table. Well, I'm making it. You're gonna watch a little bit of it. It is for a client that owns a higher end jewelry store, and she wanted a nice kind of display height table that she could put near the front window. So, picking out some stock for it, I decided, since it was going to be a nicer table, that I would use some of my older cherry, which was cut down almost 3 decades ago. It has had ample time to darken over the years, and it has darkened all the way through, which is really nice. That's one of the nice things about cherry, is it does get darker over the years. Now I picked out newer cherry that was cut down, say, within the last 2 years for the front and rear rails and the side rails. I thought it would give me a really nice color contrast once the piece was done. The legs would be really dark, the top would be dark, and then the rails would appear to be much lighter. I just thought it would give me a nice little look. Anyway, what I'm doing here is just rough cutting out all the pieces, the 4 side rails and the 4 legs. Running it through the bandsaw, and then I'll take it over here in a second, run it on the jointer and the planer, get it nice and straight so I can work with it. Now I will say that this video is not a how-to. I'm definitely not that organized. I find it hard enough to record and work at the same time, and a lot of times I forget to even put a camera behind me. So there's definitely some footage that I didn't get. Like, I got some of the sanding, which I know everybody probably really enjoys watching somebody sand wood, but I didn't get that much, so I really apologize for that. I didn't get gluing up the top for it, or milling any of the wood for it. What else didn't I get? A couple things I didn't get, like this part here. To do the curve on the legs, which each leg has 2 curves, so 2 of the 4 sides are curved in. But I did it the same way as I'm doing it on the side rails here. I found the middle, put a tack in each end, and then used my aluminum roller to mark that curve. Did it the same exact way on the legs. Now you can make a template if you have the extra material, and in my case I didn't have the extra material to make the template, so I just made the piece itself the template. Which I guess it doesn't really matter. You're the woodworker in your shop. You're the king. You make the rules. You do whatever works for you. Now when you're cutting on the bandsaw, it's important you take your time. Feed it through. Stay to the side of the line, because you are going to have to sand. It's not going to be perfect the first time. So you want that line there as a reference to what you're sanding to. So that's all I can say. Just take your time. Don't rush it. I made sure I had my little in-feed and out-feed rollers set up, so I didn't have to worry about trying to balance this longer leg across my table. So now that you have all those cut off, you don't want to throw them away because you're going to have to tape them back on. When you cut the second side or the second curve, the cut side is going to be the side you're running across your bandsaw table. And if you don't tape the scrap back on, it won't be stable and you'll have this really crooked, kind of crappy cut. So just save yourself the headache, take the time, tape it back on. Doesn't take that long. And then once it's taped back on, you use your masterpiece to just mark the same exact curve on the next side. So now that I've put the front and rear rails and the side rails through the jointer and through the planer, now I'm just cutting those to their finished width, which I believe was 3.5 inches. I still need to get a new microphone. This one doesn't sound very good. I feel like I have to do a lot of tweaking in the audio editor to get a lot of the background, like it has a hum to it. And that's probably a characteristic of a cheaper microphone. But you know, most of us live life on a budget. Then you don't want to go out and spend money on something that you're not going to continue doing. So really, I just wanted to make sure I was going to keep making these videos before I start putting money into better audio and video equipment. Right now I'm using like a Samsung Galaxy S10 for the video. I have a large card in there, like a 300 gig card or something, and it doesn't take bad video. It has a pretty good picture. So here we are using the Tiny T. I love this little thing, especially for marking really accurate things. I love it. I use it all the time, but use my little Tiny T to mark out where I wanted the mortise to be. And then kind of had my legs set up to, you know, how the table would be setting, just to make sure I liked the way the wood looked. And you can see there where I have the curve marked for the top of the rail, because when it's all together it kind of has that little floating effect and makes it look nice and light. And to get the mortise cut out, I've used my little DeWalt palm router with a 1/4 inch bit. Now the mortise is actually just a little bit bigger or wider than a 1/4 inch, so the bit was perfect. I could put it basically right down the middle with a little edge guide, and then come back with my chisel and just clean up the edge, which ended up working out perfect. And you can see with the curves on the top of the rail, on the long pieces I measured in, I think, 4.5 inches, and then I found one of my little plastic templates that had a curve that I liked and just used the edge of that. Then of course took it over to the bandsaw and cut it out. Then after I did that, I had to kind of trim the tenon down a little bit, because at that point it was flush with the top of the rail. I think you can see it in this one. Like, see how the top of the tenon's flush with the top of the rail where it curves up? So I ended up taking the bandsaw, or taking it over to the bandsaw and just trimming the tenon down just a little bit. I think it was like a ½ inch or something like that. But I had already figured all this out before I marked with the little tiny T and stuff, so wasn't a big deal. Again with this curve, man. This piece reminded me of how I like my women. Beautiful, curvy, elegant. Yeah, that's good enough. Trying to think if I should put some like background music in this. Sometimes I'm watching stuff and it has background music. It's kind of annoying, because a lot of times people will make the background music just a hair too loud, and you start missing little things that they say. So I don't know if I'm going to put it in or not, but it might need it. So I don't really feel like I'm saying anything that's super interesting. Now you will notice that I like to caress and touch my wood a lot, and I'm not gonna apologize for it either. There is some reasoning behind it. Sometimes your eye doesn't always catch things in the light, so sometimes it's important. You got to touch it, you got to feel it, because a lot of times your fingertip can pick up on a low spot or a high spot that your eye won't necessarily see. So I'm just saying, there's nothing wrong with touching your wood a little bit. Make sure it's smooth. Nobody likes lumpy wood. So basically we're almost at the end. We're doing the final sanding, the final little touch up, rounding all the edges. You don't want any sharp edges. It feels nice and smooth, and then we can move on. Little dry fit just to make sure everything was going together nice. And then boom, I glued everything up. Sorry, I didn't record it. But here I'm taking my biscuit joiner and I'm putting just a little groove a ½ inch down from the top, and this is going to be where you put those little tabletop clips. I call them little Z clips because they're kind of shaped like a Z, but really it's for once you put the top on, the clip sits into that little recess and then screws to the bottom of the top and holds the top down. And then I didn't record that footage of putting this top together, but here I am trimming it to its final dimension. And getting rid of some of that sapwood. I purposely glued it up so I'd have sapwood on both sides, but then I decided that I wanted kind of a front or back, so I only left sapwood on on the back side or the front side, however the customer wanted to put it. but I also thought it gave it some character instead of just being all kind of one solid color. But you can see how it works, the curves work with the top. It kind of looks like it's sitting there kind of floating a little bit, and it lightens up the design. I don't know, I really liked it. I think the guys that designed it did really well, and the customer really liked it. But like I said, it's an elegant, beautiful piece. I hope they really enjoy it. It's already in its home, and it's being used, and as far as I know, they absolutely love it. So the only other thing I didn't touch base on was the finish, and the finish I chose to use was a tung oil finish. Actually, the Minwax tung oil finish. It's not pure tung oil. It has like a varnish mixed in with it. And I've used it quite a bit, and I love it. I love the way it looks. It gives a pretty good amount of protection, has a little bit of water resistance in it. Just has a really nice look and feel to it. And the more coats of that stuff you put on, the shinier or glossier the finish will get. I think I did 5 coats on the top, 3 on the legs and the side rails, and then 5 coats on the top, and I ended up with this really nice sheen or satin sheen to it. And I think aside from that, thank you guys so much. If you made it this far, again, congratulations. I know it's not riveting content, but for some people it's interesting. So appreciate it. Please subscribe, and I will catch you guys next time on the bathroom vanity I have started. Thank you.